and dragon rider extraordinaire.
Of Alan Schiller's art and illustration. We're here to. I am reading it straight from. I need a teleprompter. All right, there we go. We're here about the dragons we fed, treasure or booty we're after, and the wondrously weird journey of life. Every episode will explore what it takes to face your dragons and maybe even ride one. Okay, I will get this eventually.
So grab your shields, sharpen your claws, and let's dive in, because today we're asking the question that matters most. What dragons are you facing? We have a guest today as we stumble through it. Our guest is Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
There we go.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for including me in this wonderful journey.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. It's been fun. We've been talking in chat for about 30 minutes now and having entirely too much fun.
That's the best way to start it, where it doesn't feel like you're coming in cold, you know? So.
Exactly. Never going cold. Yeah. No, sorry.
Brian,
I love where your mind goes, you know? You need to meet my wife. She's an amazing person.
And it's second, like, I don't even think about it. It's just second nature. Like, it's, yeah.
Did you say, well, that's what she
yeah.
After I just said no cussing, and then it's like, oh, whoops.
I mean, it's that reaction of like instant edit. My wife
completely.
does that all the time. Yeah.
It's rare when Alan can beat me to the "that's what she said" comment. Very rare. So, Brian, welcome to Hubie Dragons. No, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Nope, you go ahead. Nope, after you. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself and what who you are and what you do for the podcast?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Brian W. Parker. So if you look it up, it's Brian W. Parker, because there are other Brian Parkers out there. I have a very generic name. I am an author, an illustrator, a publisher, an educator, and I've been publishing children's books now since 2015, with my first book coming out prior to that, the first graphic novel. And we have now published, we're coming on 21, 22 books. So
that's amazing. Wow.
That's
Alan and I are struggling with our first one.
Yeah, hey.
We're trying. I've been working on the same children's book for 10 years now. Right.
Oh, hey. I anytime I talk to anybody about the process of making a book, and I mention the number of books, they think to themselves, wow, how did you do that? And essentially, there's a part of my brain that's just like, get it done, get it done, get it done, get it done.
Right?
I just kind of keep my head down. And also, I'm very graceful with myself about it not being perfect. So
yes, finished, not perfect.
Finished, not perfect. Finished, not perfect. It's I think perfection is the enemy of making work sometimes, because we can be overly critical of ourselves. And I've embraced the fact that it's not going to be exactly what I imagined it to be, but it's going to be something cool, so
that's awesome. But
it can also be better than you imagined too. Like you finally get it all put together, you could be like,
have it in your hands.
Wow, I can't believe I did that.
That's the amazing thing about art. It's the amazing thing about the whole process is that when you make a thing, even when you get to the end, if it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be, it's never going to be that in anybody else's mind either. The moment you put something out, it takes on a life of its own. It's formed and reformed and recontextualized in the minds of the people that read it or engage with the art, any of that stuff. So you have to have a certain amount of kind of letting reins go, because you realize that somebody's going to take it up and they're going to form something that you couldn't imagine in their mind. So yeah. And it's tough for creatives to kind of do that, because you want to be as precise with your vision as possible. But
It's clear.
But there's that moment where you realize that the viewer is going to take the reins and they're going to do what they want with it too. So
absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So,
Brian, there's a question that we ask all the guests that we're having coming on the show. This is the Here Be Dragons podcast. So we kind of want to know if you think of dragons as adversity or something preventing you from making work. Is there what kind of dragons are you facing? And are you facing them? Have you conquered them? Are you riding your dragons? Have you tamed them? Are you training them?
We don't kill dragons here. We
no,
don't kill dragons.
Like, never slay a dragon. Never slay a dragon.
Capture and release.
Dragons are friends.
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a really great question. And I wish I had one of my sketchbooks here that I could show you, but I draw all the time what I like to call anxiety dragons. Because in most of my thinking, dragons are kind of like the purest form of like magic. It's like chaos and order mixing and mingling with each other. So whenever I feel that moment of just kind of like, everything's a mess, I will draw a dragon. And that dragon never fails to show me what what's true in my spirit at that moment. So if I draw a wise ancient dragon sitting there drinking tea and speaking to someone, then I'm like, some part of me is try to express wisdom, try to express some kind of sage knowledge. If I draw a dragon and he's ferocious and he's coming at you with his teeth bared and his claws out and he's ready to, get to business, then there's something, primal in me that wants to express itself. So the dragons never fail to tell me what I'm trying to say.
It's almost like coming at it as a self-portrait.
It is. It's very much.
That's really cool.
You use it as a means of self-reflection and it's like a mirror. It shows you what's going on in your head, because most of the time,
internal dialogue.
Yeah, it's way too busy for you to really glean any good information out of it. So
yes,
I love that about art. There's so many little aspects too of other things too that help you to kind of focus and find those realities about what's happening inside yourself. So I know some people use tarot, some people use reading poetry because it's so open to interpretation. But if you do and you sit and you listen to this stuff, where you look and see deeper, then it will tell you something important about who you are at that moment.
Definitely. I'm an oracle artist. I've created 3 oracle decks. I'm probably going to start a 4th one. And my oracles are all about talking to your subconscious, right? I'm not one of these people that like, I'm going to read your fortune and tell you your future. No. It's you getting in touch with your subconscious and bringing that out and figuring out what it is that you have to say or are feeling or what have you. So right there with you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing about discussing archetypes and talking about this stuff.
Absolutely.
All that stuff kind of exists in our kind of collective mindset and stuff. And I've been working on an oracle deck for a while now. But,
if you got questions, hit me up.
I will pick your brain. I will pick your brain.
Absolutely. Yeah, and mine are all internationally published out of high publishers. Blue Angel and Hay House hired me to do my first one, and I got you, man. Whatever you need, you call.
Well, I do two little books.
What's that?
I'm thinking some solstice rune oracles from Nicholas the Maker. It's dude,
I want to do one because all the stories that I write, and I posted a link to our website on the group. So all the books that we write exist in the same world. All right.
Very cool.
And it's not something that it's not something that comes across right away just on looking at it, because all the stories are different. But the magic system that we created, we wanted it to exist in all these different spaces. And the magic system is based around creativity.
Oh, cool.
It's so much of it is about anything that you can pour your heart into. You can pour your passion and it doesn't have to always be happy or high-minded thought. Sometimes it's chaotic, sometimes it's angry, but anything you can pour that into can become a magical item, right? And the way that works is that in our setup, people are kind of wrapped in stories, right? You're wrapped in stories and you shed them throughout the course of your life on a regular basis, like a cat shedding hair, right?
Yeah.
And that's because none of the stories are you. Oh, thank you. I was really proud of this. I was really proud.
No, I just did like 8 months of shadow work, so I'm right there with you. Yeah,
See?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of that comes out in this. A lot of that comes out Jungian, and there's some Tao in there. There's some
I love it.
Nag
We're gonna have
Hammadi.
to, you and me, we're gonna have to talk philosophy later.
Yes, definitely. And that's the cool thing, is that the way that this magic works is that when you're shedding these stories, that they imprint on the things around you. So as you're making a magical item, you're not just infusing it with your love, you're imprinting it with the story of who you are at that moment, right?
Cool.
And it can be either persistent and stay for a long time, or it can just be momentary, And so I want that to come across in our work. And I did these 2 books not too long ago. It's Fantasy Dressed Animals and Fantasy Dressed Animals. But I want to do one. I want to do one based on an oracle deck called Divinely Dressed Animals. And,
yes.
Yeah. So, but I have to create an entire, like, basis around it so that it's consistent and helpful for people. But once again, I'm gonna pick your brain.
Yeah, of course.
All my oracle decks are about helping with all 3 books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A box set with the deck and all 3 books. Let's go.
Start, because my wife is constantly telling me, why do you write everything in the series? Because then it locks you in for another 2 years doing the same thing. But generally the way I write is in these kind of big cycles too. So it does end up turning into series and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool that you write in the same world, because I know like oh my gosh, I just lost his name. Brandon Sanderson, all of his stuff is in the Cosmere.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with Sanderson, the stories are all different, but they all take place in the same world, which is just really cool, because then you get little Easter eggs between them and stuff like that. So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I love that. But yeah, I mean,
Brian, where do you get your inspiration for your characters and artwork from? Like, where do you get your character inspiration for your characters and your stories?
I'd like to say it's from people around me, and sometimes it is, but I think it's weird, and it sounds very, how do you put it, self-aggrandizing. But I think every writer, when they're writing characters, every character in that story is some aspect of them, right? And even though they may outwardly express themselves like characters of people that I know that the internal drivers of those characters very much is me. I write a series of books called The Epic of Nicholas the Maker, and I'm working on book 4 of that right now. And my main character,
that's cool,
Nicholas, is just who you think he is. He's Santa Claus. But he's proto Santa Claus. He's Santa Claus before he grows up. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm a foster adopt dad. I've got 2 kiddos who I love very much, who drive me absolutely insane. And he is them, but he's also me.
Right.
And there's that mix and mingle in there that makes the characters have some extra depth to them. So much of his journey is based around the foster adopt journey, that trying to find yourself through connection, through your history, but then also realizing that you are not the things that came before. You are a constantly kind of evolving thing. And just joy, this character, he's joy personified, and I think Alan would get a kick out of this too, because he's that guy that shows up in the space that has a lot of joy and a lot of creativity, but he's also very comfortable with the fact that he doesn't know what the hell is going on. And I this is me talking from my own personal, personal experience. But creative people very often know how to, when they show up in a space, to be flowy enough to know that, your preconceptions aren't always going to be. Yeah, you don't know anything, and you got to be open to stuff. And so he's a great character in the sense that he's constantly asking questions. He always wants to know what's going on with other people, and that's me. But he's also insecure and confused,
awesome.
And he laughs. Yes. Oh man. And somebody they were a little thrown off by this, but my Nicholas, he laughs a lot. The ho ho ho. It's him. That's him really laughing, but it's also him coping with how nervous he is in most situations.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's a nervous thing, but it's also it's him trying to find joy in every moment. So, in that way, yeah.
I think that just adds an element, like a personality element, that I think that any person, regardless if it's a kid or not, they're going to read that and they're going to recognize that and be like, somebody put a little bit of me inside that character, and so they're going to read that. That's going to resonate with them, because I love that. I love that a lot. Thank
you. And it tends to be that thing where it's like especially when you're engaging with young audiences, as we do, you want to give them that moment, especially when the protagonist is their age, where they can see that not everything starts off perfect. It's who this character is going to end up being. I have that wonderful that wonderful reality that I can work from, is that they know who Santa is. But how do you get to be that kind of a benevolent person that kind of gives freely of themselves? How do you get to that? And that was the journey. That was the part that I was really excited about, was how do you show a person that does not face a whole bunch of terrible things or hard things and not become cynical?
That's a really just great deeper lesson overall, because it's the human condition, right? We all deal with crap, and how, as you said, how do you not lose that joy? How do you not lose?
Call my public library right now. Tell them they need to get some Brian W. Parker in there.
Buy him and donate him.
Oh, definitely.
Right. I could.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think right now more so than in any time that I've been alive a while. Having some characters and stuff that do represent that not giving up on the idea of being kind, being empathetic, being present, and that is a power, not a weakness. I think it's really important.
Especially right now, for sure.
Oh,
for sure.
Definitely right now. Yeah, it's imperative right now. So but yeah, and I think that's a long answer. Yeah, that's a long answer to a question, but they're a little bit of me, and they're a little bit of the people that I know, and that mix and mingle is what usually makes them very nuanced.
And these are all self-published, right?
Yes. Cool. And that's always the thing I have to make sure I point out, is that when you're working in an indie publishing space, for a long time there was a kind of stigma to the fact that, you're self-published. That's different than being, majorly published by a publishing house and stuff. There's an interesting validation that comes from knowing that some expert in the field, saw your work and elevated it to the point of like, yes, you're ready to be out there. And I'm not gonna, diss that, because there is something to be said about curated work. But the funny thing about, I ended up going back to school and get my master's degree so that nobody could tell me that I didn't know.
That's cool.
And it's so weird because now that after I went to get my master's degree, I realized that I knew a lot of that stuff already. I just was looking for validation. Which is like,
you just needed that little piece of paper.
That's some expensive validation, Brian.
Right.
Dude, you're reading my mind. I was just about to say that. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. It was really expensive validation. But there's a lot of really beautiful work coming out of the indie space, out of the self-pub space. And the great thing about it is that you get to make decisions about what is the value that you want to bring to it. Because once again, the bigger houses it's a business, right? They're trying to maximize income. They're trying to maximize visibility. So they publish a certain kind of thing because they know that works. But if you're anywhere outside of that algorithm, outside of that, then they're like the formula, and they'll be like, I'm not sure if we want to invest time and money in that. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. It just means that they can't see it. So that was the last thing that they asked me before I left my graduate program was like, what do you want to do with this? Where do you want to go with this? Because there were a lot of projects that I did during the time that people really liked, but it didn't get put into, because it's a publishing house too. So it didn't make it to press because I was doing stuff I was passionate about, not stuff that worked with what they were putting out. And they were like, we really liked all your work and stuff. I'm sorry, less of it made it to to publishing. So what is your plan? What do you want to do with this? And I was like, I just want to make my own stuff. I just want to make my own stuff. And my professors that I asked to be a part of my little discussion group, one of them was like, yes, that's what I was hoping he was going to say. So that was very encouraging. And of course, when I went and told my wife, she was just like, I've been telling you that for years. I don't know why you got to have somebody else tell you. And I'm like, you're
with
right.
a bigger piece of paper.
With a bigger piece of paper.
I was going to say those publishing houses, they're really good at feeding people what they want. They don't have always a good gauge of what people need, of what we need. And artists have a way of finding that and filling that hole that's missing. We give people what they need.
Yeah, and
sure.
Artists are constantly picking up on cultural changes, on changes in their community, changes in themselves, and their work reflects that. So the industry has a hard time keeping up. If last year's number said that you need more spicy romance novels about X, Y, and Z, then they totally missed this whole movement of like women picking the bear over the dude and realizing that they want a furry monster. But the indie community,
we shifted from fairy to furry.
Yeah,
it happens rapidly.
I'm
still my fairy fan.
And that's the thing is that the industry can't always move.
And they have their, at least on the licensing side of things, they usually have the next year completely booked.
Oh yeah,
2 years out, and it's not just with books either. It's calendars, it's products, it's everything. You're signing contracts for something that you're not going to see for 8 months, a year, 2 years.
Exactly.
So there's no keeping up with trends already. Right? Exactly.
And that's always the thing when I get a chance to talk to aspiring writers, writers in process, and stuff like that. There's a lot of trepidation about, what am I going to do if I go indie? Are people going to think that I'm not really, or that kind of thing? I'm like, put stuff out.
Yeah,
Put stuff out. However you can do it. By hook or by crook, you get it out there. And any way that it comes out, then it's still something in your backlist that you can say, I follow the thing through to the end. And that always looks good, even if you decide to go the route of working with a major publisher and getting a agent and then getting representation and getting stuff out that way. it still shows that your dedication to the craft is that you still put something out, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
if you had, I mean, Guillermo del Toro is listening. Nicholas the Maker needs some Guillermo del Toro love. I mean, that would be a collaboration. Oh, that would be
Dude,
awesome.
from your mouth to Guillermo's ears.
I know.
Yes, please. Oh, and I have the added.
That vibe would be a minute heaven right there.
Oh my God! You know, and if for no other reason than just to study at the feet of somebody that you like highly appreciate their craft. You know, that's always awesome. I'm lucky enough that I'm in a publishing town in Portland, but it's also a filmmaking town too, because Leica Studios is right down the street from the house.
Cool.
You know, Shadow Machine is here too. They made Pinocchio with Guillermo del Toro for Netflix, and they won an Oscar. So I'm always trying to find out where these people meet at. So you could just be like, "Hey, I brought everybody coffee."
You'd be like,
"Fancy meeting you here."
I know.
What's the secret word to get inside this room?
I tried it with Ursula Le Guin when I moved here. She was still out and about, you know, in a literary community. She was always out and about, you know, just having coffee with folks and hanging out at bookstores and, you know, sitting someplace and being grumpy about things. And I love that vibe about her too. I just wanted to show up and be like, "Hey," but I never really. I'd always missed her.
My bad. Sorry.
I was like, "Oh my God, aren't you Ursula Le Guin?" Yeah, Tales of Mercy. Oh my God! But I always missed her by like that much because I went to one bookstore and did a signing, and she had been there the day before, and I was like, "Damn it!" But always take those opportunities whenever you can. And I've lucked out. I've got to meet Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy. I've got to meet.
His documentary is excellent if you haven't seen it.
Oh,
so good. So good.
Oh, and he's exactly. You know, they say don't meet your heroes. That's absolute bullshit.
Right,
yeah,
right.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
All good.
I'm the one that broke the rule. But
you know,
in this
funny, we're going to have to be good because he's a children's illustrator, so we've got to keep it on the down low.
You know, I do it the way I parent, which is like, you know, you make the effort. But yeah, I mean, always meet these people whenever you get the chance to, because there's something about just meeting them and engaging with them and their character and stuff that you get to realize certain things that have translated into their work. I've met Mike Mignola twice, and he is Hellboy.
Yeah,
he is Hellboy. He's just kind of workaday, kind of like, yeah, I don't really feel like talking right now, but you know. Oh, you're talking about something I'm into. Okay, let's talk about that.
Right. Not just about asking him questions and how do you will you sign this for me? Yeah, no.
He's not about small talk, and he is definitely not about oh my God, I'm geeking out, I'm meeting you.
Right.
That's always. But if you come at him like, hey, I'm a writer, I'm working on stuff. I love what you did and blah blah blah, and he will engage. I started talking to him about The Amazing Screw-On Head, which is a great graphic novel that didn't get the love that it needed. But
that's what you got to. You got to find those things that were under the radar, because that shows that you're a real fan.
Exactly, and I was like, that was just beautiful, and we talked for a long time about that. So
that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I was going to name drop somebody else. I like to get the opportunity.
Chat says you met Kelly Sue DeConnick. Sorry.
Yes, I met Kelly Sue. I did. She lives here in town, and she's the author of.
So bad we haven't checked chat.
Yeah, like Miss Marvel. No, not Miss Captain Marvel, and
cool.
She's awesome. I met her at Books with Pictures, which is it's the top comic book store in the country. So yeah,
so
she was
cool.
really cool. And
Yeah, one of my favorite creators just they had a FX show just released too. Jeremy Hahn. He's from Joplin, which is like 30 minutes away from me, and the beauty was just incredible. So yeah, I love meeting my creators. And when your creators recognize you, that's even better. They're like, they see you coming, they're like, "Hey, what are you doing now?" I'm like, "Oh, not much. We're working on it."
So it really makes you feel like you're part of the community when they like, oh, I remember you from, you know, that thing, or we're Facebook friends or whatever. You know, it's so important to be a part of your creative community, because sometimes that little bit of, you know, that kind of quiet fist bump is enough to kind of keep you going sometimes, you know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I
And
kind of feel
I
like
mean, we're
me
all
and
drawing
Brian
from
have
the
been
same
giving each
well,
other the
so.
fist bump for many years. We've just been like,
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And
keep going, brother.
that's the thing. Oh, you know, and I, without the risk of sounding a little too philosophical, sometimes this, you know, this kind of creative urge, it feels like a flame inside of you, right? And sometimes you have to tend it because it's gotten low, and other times it's blazing hot and you're getting stuff done. But I found that when you get to engage with other people in a creative community, sometimes somebody else's flame is low.
Yeah.
And what do you do when you have two candles next to each other? Is that we share that light.
Make it bigger. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
spread it.
Absolutely.
And I'm blessed in the fact that I'm in a really great community where we get a chance to do that kind of stuff pretty often. And the other name I was going to.
I'll be honest with you. You all have rekindled my fire more times than you know, because there are days when I'm just like, I can't do it, and then I see y'all out there hustling, and I'm like, oop, time to get back in it.
Oh man, I appreciate that. And now you just being in this space with you and Carla, and this is like invigorating for me too. So that's the thing. And you'll find this too, is that whenever you're engaging with people in other creatives and stuff, very often you assume if they're doing well, or if they have some recognition, or they're out there and stuff, that they're getting stuff done, and that light is hot and burning. But sometimes it's not.
Not always.
Yeah.
And especially if you finish a big project. I mean, we have to have that downtime. You know, there has to be, you know, I haven't painted in months or whatever because I just finished 3 paintings. You know, that's just, it's not a 9 to 5, you know, just show up, you know, you do as much as you can, because if you don't show up, then it never gets done, but it does wax and wane. Mary's asking if you have a Patreon.
I do. I started it last year. It's Believe and Wonder. You know, it's you can search it up that way. I can.
Dude, that is a killer name that you've grabbed as many places as possible, and kudos to you, because that's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I love it.
I don't even remember. I kind of remember how we got it going. Well, Wonder's always been a big word for me. But because when I was a kid, I'm raised, you know, kind of Judeo-Christian. You know, there was a lot of like parts in the readings that were like, you know, fear of God, fear of the universe, fear, and I was like, oh God, why am I supposed to be scared? But then I read this definition where it said that the original translation of that word, fear, doesn't necessarily mean what we think it means. It means awe or wonder, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, I can work with that. And there's a great movie that came out a couple of years ago. I say a couple of years ago. I'm probably dating myself.
That's all skewed for all of it. Yeah, no.
Yeah. It's called Rise of the Guardians. It's based on a book series by William Joyce.
Yes. It's been a little more than a few years.
Hasn't it? And
that was so
there's
good.
A woman in it. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It should have got way more love. but there's a part where Santa is talking to Jack Frost, and he says, "What is your center?" And he demonstrated it with the Russian dolls, and he got to the middle, and it was a little baby with eyes full of wonder. And I already connect with Santa Claus as a just an icon and an archetype, but that moment, like watching a film that's like, it's a cartoon, it's whatever. But you ever seen something, you're watching a scene in a movie and you get chills?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your neck and stuff. That moment was transcendent for me. I was like, okay. Cool. Yeah. And I was like, I really connected with that. So I was like, I believe in the wonder that's inside of me. So when we came up with that and my wife was looking at it, she said, you do realize that when you line up the letters of our company name, believe in Wonder Publishing, that it's, if you don't count in, it's BWP, which is my initial.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Like, did you do that on purpose?
That's so meta.
BWP.
I was like, no, I didn't do that on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose.
Oh,
but
that's great marketing, though. That's great marketing.
Right?
It's just synchronicity, it's whatever.
Isn't that amazing? Like the synchronicity of just stuff is just
it just lines up.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. You have to have your eyes open for it, though. It's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are just kind of like
putting that energy and alignment down into the world for what you want, and then you're practice that and you're more likely to see it when it does come up. So for sure.
Did you have any growing up when you started creating, like professional influences that influenced you to start creating?
It's just, which is crazy is that it's so broad because I love cartoons as a kid. I love cartoons. I collect toys now. So, I was that kid.
Are we all children of the 80s here?
Yeah.
There you go. Because everything that we were eating, watching, experiencing was a commercial for something else.
Toy. Yep.
Yeah. So I had He-Man. I had G.I. Joe. I am
deep in Funko's pocket. In Funko's pocket. I keep saying I'm only going to buy the ones that I like, and then they keep coming out with ones that I like, so I'm hosed.
I know that it's probably a good thing that I'm not rich, because I keep looking at, somebody posted the other day, it's the full set of Thundercat action figures and the castle where they and I was like, why would you show me?
Right.
They keep coming out with these new He-Man toys now, and I'm just like drooling and stuff, and I'm like, oh.
And it's about to get crazy this summer, because when the movie comes out, then those figures are going to be everywhere. Get them while they're cheap.
Right? Yes.
Might have to talk to your brother about getting a Nicholas the Maker too. So.
Dude, hey, he made me too. So I'm gonna paint this guy today.
That's so cool. Oh, they look so good too.
Oh, thank you. He really nailed it. And he's having a blast printing them, so I feel bad that I'm just kind of like, I got another idea, and he's like,
okay.
But the way that I always couch it is that I'm gonna take these things to events, and it helps people to kind of see the characters, and then hopefully, because put things out into the universe.
We are business people. We've got to make the money. Mm-hmm.
There you go. I do hope too that one of these people from Leica is going to walk past my table and be like, what's going on there? And I'll be like, what?
I mean, the guy that did Dragon Tales, like the executive for PBS, was at a random tiny art market and saw him and made Dragon Tales from that whole thing, You never know. You never know.
You never know. So that's why I'm always like, put stuff out there. Put stuff off there. There's a great indie author named indie illustrator that actually does some stuff for DC, named Becky Clunan, and she put out a lot of really good indie books and stuff pre-COVID, and that was like her thing on the back of her books was publish or die. She was like, I gotta be putting stuff out. I gotta, by hook or by crook, I'm gonna find a way to get it out there. And that was how I got to know about her work. And then when she, eventually ended up working for these bigger companies, I followed her work because of that. And it was just these little tiny indie books, not much longer than say 30, 40 pages. But I was like, this is really tough. So,
Nice.
That's
but
cool.
To your question, Al, I read a lot of children's books. I read a lot of, I watched a lot of cartoons. I'm a big fan of Maurice Sendak, the author and illustrator of Where the Wild Things Are.
Yep.
And Chris Van Allsburg, who wrote and illustrated Jumanji. I read Ursula Le Guin's The Wizard of Earthsea when I was like 11 or 12. And that broke my brain. I don't think I ever recovered from that. I became a devotee after that.
Yeah.
And
have you read her essay, The Language of the Night? It's science fiction and fantasy essay, The Language of the Night. It's really good.
Oh my God. I'm just starting to discover and read some of her really, really deep and nuanced essays and her poetry. And people still punch me in the face because I say I haven't read the Lathe of Heaven, and I haven't read it yet. But I'm an Earthsea guy. I've read all of Earthsea multiple times, and of course, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and all of that stuff.
The fantasy classics.
Yeah, you got to. That stuff. In a lot of ways, it teaches you how to dream. Yeah. Which is, I think, a beautiful thing about literature is that sometimes you don't know what the boundaries of your imagination are until it pushes you past your own self-imposed boundaries, and it makes the world more expansive. So I love the fact that I had that growing up, and my mom, who is I credit my mom with pretty much all of this stuff, because my mother, she was self-taught as far as her reading is concerned. She had to go to special classes and stuff like that so that she could learn how to read, because she dropped out of school when she was 15.
Wow.
And because she was she had my brother who made these statues for me, and her engagement with words was always troublesome. She always had a hard time with it. Probably her most consistent reading was the Bible anyway. So she was like, I can read that. So, that's where I'm at. But anytime I wanted to go to the library, she was there. She took me. She let me get all the books that I wanted. Anytime I wanted to tell her a story, because I always wanted to tell her a story. She was like, I can't really picture all these things that you're coming up with. So here's some paper and here's some pencils.
Wow.
Go draw the pictures of the things that you're coming up with,
That is
and then
so
come
cool.
back to me and show me that stuff. And
so cool.
Yeah, so I started to link the stories that existed inside of me, and a way of manifesting it is, not only writing it down, but also drawing it. And so those two processes developed together in congruent with each other as I developed as a writer and as an artist. So
I like that you use the word manifesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You literally you throw it out into the universe. It's like it's like there's a proverb about Spartans going to war, that they would throw a spear so that it would go and it'll land in the middle of the battlefield, and it'd be like, you tell the rest of the soldiers, go to that spear. That's where you're going. And that's constantly any artist knows that, is that you don't know how this stuff's going to end. You don't know how it's going to go. So you're literally always throwing that spear and saying, that's where I'm headed. And we'll see what happens, So.
Yeah. When you find a creator and they have that magic, they have that creativity, they have that thing that's feeding them. They have that, like Henson had it, Stan Winston had it. These creators, they just have it. Guillermo del Toro, he's got it. You have that.
Yeah.
You've got that Henson quality, Brian. I'm telling you, you've got that. I mean,
definitely.
It explodes out of your heart, man, and I love it. I love it.
Oh, thank you. That's high praise, man. That's high praise. I mean, and I love those guys because they never. I mean, they had to navigate through through industries and stuff that were constantly telling them nobody wants to see this, nobody wants this to happen, and they were just like, okay, well, I'll find a way to make it happen. Yeah.
You're gonna talk with a frog puppet? What?
Yeah. And it's like I have this. He doesn't even look like a dog. His name is Rolf, and he plays the piano. And they're like, and can you imagine a childhood without the Muppets existing somewhere?
No.
Nope.
Without,
and I wouldn't want to.
Sesame Street or Sesame Street
or Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I'm a huge fan of Henson's. Some of his. At the time, it was less popular work, but Dark Crystal, Labyrinth.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Talk about making a decision to do something creatively that nobody understood, was not financially, a great idea, and then
hooking up with Brian Froud was just magic. And magic.
You guys, you've already been able to tell I name drop, but I don't name drop because I want to make it look like I'm famous. I name drop because I've met people that have really inspired me. But I got to meet Brian and Wendy Froud. They came to Portland for the opening of an art show, and
I'm so jealous.
He had his original paintings up, and Wendy had her original puppet.
Dolls. Oh my gosh!
Oh my God! It was bonkers. I was losing my mind.
You want to talk about a good Oracle deck? The Froud Fairy deck. Oh,
the Froud Fairy deck.
Oh, yes. That deck will kick your behind. If you don't want to hear what it has to say, don't even pull it out of the box because it's not pulling any punches.
Just the art books alone. Bad fairies, good fairies. I got that over here.
Bad fairies, good fairies.
Yeah.
The ones with the
Labyrinth art book. Yeah, the squashed fairies.
Yeah, it's the squash fairies. And I will tell you, just having been in a space and experience that artwork up close, it's I mean, I feel like sometimes that the books don't fully, or any of the reproductions ever fully capture, because every brushstroke, every piece of every bit of watercolor that's laid on there, it's layers. Yeah. It's layers. And I'm like, I can't watercolor myself out of a paper bag. I just can't imagine that amount of consciousness while you're making it.
I've mentioned it before, but a few months ago, one of the major colleges did a study on what happens to our brain looking at reproductions versus looking at original art. And there's completely something different that happens when you're looking at original art, when you're looking at the brushstrokes versus the reproduction. It can be life-changing, right? It can be absolutely life-changing for people.
I used to, when I was in college at Mississippi State, my professors, art history was always a hard class for me because I love the history part of it, but they would elevate certain, I mean, some stuff you just don't kind of get get it in context. And color field painting was something I was like, why am I supposed to care about this? Like Mark Rothko, big bands of color and giant canvases. And I was like, what is the point of this? Because the way I was seeing it was like this in a book.
Oh, yeah.
So I had the privilege of, when I was in school, going to the MoMA and to the Met. And that was sophomore year we went. And I got to see a Rothko up close. I got to see it. And the layering of the color, the density, the nuance, the changes in variation between the blocks. And then I got it. I totally got it then, because it was and it's so large that once you're standing in front of it, you get lost in the field.
Right.
You're in the color. And I was like, okay, I understand now. And same thing for like Jackson Pollock. I was like, anybody can do that. You're just dripping with paint everywhere. But
yeah, the whole modern art stuff. Yeah.
But you stand in front of it, and the thing is takes up all your periphery. And I think the one I saw was Lucifer, and it's like looking at a magic eye. You know, you become part of the color field. You know, you're in it.
That's cool.
And yeah, and I feel like young people. Yeah, you literally step into it. It's like, you know, you're absorbed into it. And I feel like young people in particular should have that opportunity more often to see the stuff up close in real life.
I saw Alphonse Mucha came through Santa Fe, and to stand in front of his, like, I wept the whole like 2 hours I was there, just constant. His ink pieces are so just.
I know, it's
amazing.
like
They're just amazing.
It's like precise, but at the same time, there's this playfulness in there that it's just.
They had slides of his process, and he did the grid technique. So
he
would grid his, so he had reference photos, and then they showed how he gridded them out for the faces and stuff. And I just was like, oh my God, because we don't see that part, right? That's the deep shit that we don't see, that we just assume, you know, they can draw that way or whatever. And they're not. And he wasn't a fine artist. I mean, his stuff was for reproduction, right? He was an illustrator, and now we treat him as a fine artist. And it was just, that was one of the best experiences of my life for sure. It was amazing.
I can only imagine.
So
I'm a huge Mucha fan. Art
so good.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and I, you know, to bring that concept to, you know, because so much of my work is engaging with young people. I think, especially with the way that social media is set up, so much of what they see is finished product, right? Perfectly pristine, perfectly edited, you know, none of that, you know, I mean, even process video sometimes can seem like it's happening super fast, right? But giving them a sense of that.
Slow down speed. Art for Kids Hub, I got to put it on slow down speed for the kids.
Yeah. Let them see. It takes a minute. I mean, I don't film most of my work because I don't want people to see me erasing so damn much, but I do. I'm like,
so messy. Yeah. The backside is so messy.
But, you know, I think that's more so now, especially with the advent of AI and things like that, letting people see that an artist is a craftsperson. It's a person that's really engaged with the process and stuff is really important, because that's the stuff that really distinguishes you know.
There's a whole studio that makes Fortnite characters and Roblox. You know, it's not kids. You know, I said I work in elementary school, and kids are about 4th grade. They're very aware of that that's, you know, they realize that their work is not that good, and then they'll just quit. You know, I've seen like artists like a little flame, like I just got to keep
die on the vine
there long enough, and I say, you know, and that's why I never tell them that practice makes perfect, because I think that's a too high of an expectation. I tell them
practice makes proficient.
Mm-hmm. It builds confidence. Yeah, and I take it on myself too when I'm in those spaces and I'm teaching with kids or working with kids. I don't critique. I almost exclusively encourage, you know, and I'm not so much as the way I would with like a college student or somebody that's a working artist or something. But when they're at that beginning, that fledgling spot of trying to engage with the creative process, I'm like, oh, I love what you did there. I love that little decision that you made there changes the whole thing. Or I'll ask them questions like, you know, what was going through your mind at this part? You know, when you picked this color, or I see this mark is different than the rest of them. Is there a reason for that? And I get that from my own kids because my son, Victor, he's the type that can look at something and he can draw it perfectly the first time. And then he'll like, okay, fine, I'm done, because he has a hard time engaging with things that he's not good at. But my son Kamari, he'll struggle sometimes, but he does these things that he calls story maps, which is
cool.
He'll start a drawing in the corner and he's telling me the story as he's drawing the line. It'll be like, there's a tree over here.
So cool.
There's a little lake. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, what's happening at this part? And I totally stole that. I was like, oh my God, I can do that for my own work. And you miss out on the genius of children if you're trying to pick it apart or base it off of ideas that you've heard before. Right. And I have, just to show you an example, so this is my current writing
sketchbook.
Oh, yeah. I will do story maps in my book.
Cool.
Oh, I love that.
That is cool.
Well, because it's kind of like a timeline. You're essentially drawing a timeline, but it has a physicality. It has a sense of location. And you can also kind of put a character this story takes place in a spiral.
Oh, cool.
Because a lot of it is about kind of self-exploration and digging deeper. So I drew the map as a spiral.
You work primarily.
Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Don't you? You work primarily in pen. You primarily work in pen and pencil.
I do. I even since I got this out, I'll show you this. I even write most of my books longhand first off. And part of that is just the fact that just through my art training and just as a kid, I've associated holding a pencil with activating my creativity. So whenever I'm sitting in front of a computer,
magic wand.
It is. It's like a magic wand. It literally is. I have pencils and pens in my pocket all the time. So I never have to feel like I have to have a screen in front of me to engage in creativity. So I always tell that to students too. I'm like, they're like, well, I really like to draw on this app. And I'm like, that's great. That's great. Have a sketchbook too. Don't ever abandon having actual paper and pencil because there's an immediacy to it that screens.
The battery's not going to die. You're not going to be.
I was creating for years before I had a cell phone. I was creating for years before I had a cell phone.
Well, and there's something about analog that, again, it's like viewing the original. There's something about analog that connects us in, especially if you're ADHD or neurospicy or something like that. That is so cool.
So you were talking about dragons earlier. So yeah, this is
so cool.
Oh,
this
is we love
me and my
dragons
son
here.
were putting. Yeah, see, I got a little librarian over here talking to him, stacks of books, and for some reason the books get carried around by giant stingrays. I don't know where that came from, but
I think I ripped off of that, like with one of my sketches one time. I think I ripped off some of your work. I see your work sometimes, and I'm just like, oh, I gotta make something.
Dude, sharing the light. I'm sure it's happened a couple of times for me too, because you draw with this kind of, I don't even know if you're trying to do it, but your characters have this kind of like life and joy in them that I'll see you drew your character's the bear with the hat, the magician bear.
Yeah, that's the storybook I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I think that day I drew a bear with a hat, and I was like, he had a wizard staff and he had a little like bag across his chest, and I stuffed the bag full of like big chunks of honeycomb and stuff that was dripping all over the place. And he was being bothered by bees because he stole the magic honeycomb.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we're just sharing light.
Yeah, and we all stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. So for sure.
Of course. That's part of the problem.
Real quick before we close out, you also write with your wife Josie, right?
Yep.
And she's she creates along with you, and on your website you have your son listed as your creative officers.
Yeah.
How important is it that family joins you on this journey with you?
It's imperative for me. They're the reason why I do most of this stuff. I mean, I love my art, but the only reason why I do it as a business is because I want to give them something of myself, and I know that they're not going to get any other kind of inheritance. So I've already told them straight up. I'm like, I'm pushing to finish Nicholas so that I have the 5 books completed. I have all the stuff, and I'm gonna hand it to them someday. And I'm like, hey, make a video game, make a movie, whatever, board game, any of that stuff. Most people have to, license a property from somebody. I'm going to give you one, completed and fully done. And whatever you do with it at that point is up to you. And my boys are very much engaged in the work that we do. And I pick their brains, literally, like I told you just now about the story mapping and stuff. That's a class that we teach to young people now.
That's cool.
And in the presentation, I have my son Cam's drawing in there so that they can see it. And I think he did it when he was like 4.5 or 5, so it's chunky as hell. But it shows kids. You never know. You never know how your work is going to inspire somebody else. And Josie's my rock. She's the pragmatist. She's a creative, but at the same time, she's a creative in the sense where she knows how to organize things, and she knows how to make sure that effort is going to the places that it needs to go. Because a lot of creatives, sometimes you can scatter your energy because you're trying to find a place where it's best focused. And there are people out there who are very astute at being like, no wasted effort. Let's find where this actually works. And
navigators.
That's who she, and that's who she is for us as a company. And that's why every time I make a book, her name's on the front. Because at some point, I had to sit down and be like, okay, these 2 characters are talking to each other. This doesn't feel like a real conversation between people. And she's like, why would she say that? She has her own opinion. She has her own powers and stuff. Why is she asking for permission to? I'm like, okay. I'll rewrite that scene. So there's nothing I've ever done that doesn't have her fingerprint in it. And the great thing about neurospicy people is that, everybody has a unique perspective. And if you have the open mind and the empathy and the understanding to sit there and to really listen, it changes everything.
Has she also always been creative as well? Like, is that a decision you guys made together along the road, or did you bring her in later on? Or,
well, like I mentioned, we met each other when we were when she was 16. I had just turned 17, and we met each other at the mall. And my brother and I were sitting in the arcade. We were playing Killer Instinct, and I saw her and her friends walking by the window. And my brother thinks he's big and bad. My brother Jason. I have 2 older brothers, and my brother Jason was like, I was like, look at those girls. I bet you wouldn't go talk to them. He's like, dude, whatever. I can talk to girls now. I'm like, whatever. Go show me. And he blew it off because at the moment he was like, I got a good game going right now. But when we left the arcade and we were walking out, her and her friends circled back around and they were like, hey, y'all got a quarter for the soda machine over there? And I froze so hard. And I thought she wanted to talk to my brother. And then he's like, hey, here's my phone number, blah, blah, blah. But then when she finally called the house, Jason was like, I just was trying to show you that I could talk to girls. Here's the phone. You talk to me.
Wait, didn't any follow through?
Yeah. Oh, man. No follow through. He's going to hate me if he's seeing that. Jason, you still brought me the best person in the world. And I talked
send him a fruit basket.
Oh, man. I tell you, I found my mojo when we were talking. And next time we met each other at the Walden Books at that mall. And she introduced me to Langston Hughes. So I was like,
Nice.
I'm going to marry her.
Bookstores are magic.
Aw.
Bookstores are magic.
Yes. Oh, man. Tell me about it. Something about the smell of coffee brewing and a bunch of books out in front of you. I could just live there forever.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, we're about out of time for this segment. Just so you guys know, we do cut it out, and then we go and we talk for another 30 minutes, and that goes up on our Substack for paid subscribers. So, Brian, if you'll let the public know where they can find you and all the things and whatnot.
Certainly. You can find us at believeandwonder.com. We're the only Believe and Wonder out there. Us and they did a thing for Wonder Woman, but they're on her 50th one hundredth
Nice.
anniversary or something.
Nice.
So it's just us. It's just us. And we have our
So
Patreon, which is going. We post a lot of original artwork, process stuff, some role playing stuff, some stuff about the books and stuff like that, and it's trying to make sure that we're constantly putting more of our process stuff on there. And all of our books are available through the usual places, but I do like to point people in the direction of bookshop.org because that's coming directly from
indie bookstores.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. And he's on our website. Awesome. So if you guys go to herebedragonsartcast.com, under guests, every guest that we have on, they get their own page with their own links and everything and samples of their art and everything like that. And you were kind enough to give us some coloring sheets, which I need to add to the website, but they will be up by tomorrow. So make sure you go by and get some free coloring sheets from Brian. And thank you guys for joining us on Here Be Dragons. Make sure to like, subscribe, and find us on the web at herebedragonsartcast.com.
Nicholas is saying bye.
We're on Substack. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere else you want to listen. The episodes go up the following day, so they'll be up tomorrow, so you guys can check us out there. And thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.